All right, welcome to Belovsky Science. Today is Lucky Friday the 13th. And before we get deep into this, there's a couple of things that you need to make sure that you have turned in. Today, you are supposed to have turned in before 3:30. You are supposed to have turned in the ecosystem. And as you can see lined up across here, it is due today. The ecosystem is a chart where you had to put 7 biotic and 7 abiotic objects that are in the ecosystem around us. So it's just a set here. Let's just click on real quick. Let's take a look at one of these that have been, well, here, let's not look at one that's been turned in. Let's look at one that has not been turned in. All right, so when you click on ecosystem, you're going to see, we're going to look at Axel's here. He has started putting a few in, but here you can see some biotic things that are going in. So that is due today at 3:30. Sunday, you need to turn in by Sunday. Many people have already turned this in. You need to have turned in your chapter 20, section 1 review. And that would be this thing right here. So that is due on Sunday. All right, so this is due today. And I'm going to move this down here. And this is due on Sunday, and we're going to start this today. So one of the things that we did today in class was we did go over the chapter 20 lesson 1 review. You should have that turned in. This is what you're needing to turn in by Sunday at 3:30. And when we got through going over that, we started talking about chapter 20, lesson 2. And we're going to start out talking about the water cycle. So shall we talk about the water cycle? You'll need to click on this right here. This right here has the definitions in it for you. It doesn't actually have the definition. It's got where the vocabulary words where you write the definitions. You'll want to scroll down to number 44 right here, evaporation. And we're going to get a few words in today. So just type them into these locations here. All right, so let me go back now and click on the textbook. And let's talk about some water, the water cycle. And I love this beautiful picture right here of these waterfalls. Pretty sure this is Niagara Falls. This back here in the background looks like the Canadian side of the falls. And this right here looks like the American side of Niagara Falls. The American side isn't as pretty. The Niagara Falls sits right on the border of the United States and Canada. And this is Canada up in here. And this is the United States side of the falls. And the Canadian side is much prettier than the United States side. Okay, so how does matter move in an ecosystem? And basically, the water cycle here, it talks about how water moves inside in the earth. And something that is very interesting about the water cycle with earth is that there's the same amount of water on earth right now as there was in the beginning when the earth was created. Water is not created. Water is not destroyed. It just changes its place on earth. Okay. It changes its place and it changes its amounts. And that is constant. So how does that happen? Well, if you read some of these things right here, if you read some of these paragraphs right here, love this first paragraph right here. It says, the water you used to wash your hands this morning might have once traveled through the roots of a tree in Africa, or even have been part of an Antarctic glacier. And what I told the kids today was that something interesting is that you could have very well sometime during your lifetime drank water molecules that were also ingested by dinosaurs, by famous presidents, because water molecules are not created. They're not destroyed. They're always the same. All right, so you could have encountered water molecules that were ingested by ancient creatures or famous people. It's always a possibility. So exactly what is some of these definitions? What is the water cycle? Well, how does it work? Well, We'll get into great depth with this in just a second, but it all starts with the sun's energy. And I've pulled up this picture here. You're looking at the sun shining up here, and it's shining on top of this ocean, this large body of water right here. What happens is, as water evaporates, it goes from being a liquid to a gas, and it goes up into the air, starts condensating and making clouds. The clouds move on shore or whatever and form these big clouds, which then fall. The water falls as rain, snow, whatever. Then the water runs off into rivers or maybe a lake, streams, run off from snow, underwater discharge. Great picture right here showing that there are underground rivers, and it all makes its way back again to the oceans. And then it starts the whole process all over again. And it's been doing that for billions of years. I said billions of years, not millions of years.
Excuse me, teachers, for interrupting.
All right, sorry about that. They had to make an announcement. So the whole process starts over again. This has been going on for billions of years. It's been going on for a long, long time on the earth. So let's start getting into some of these definitions now. All right, so over here on this page right here, what is evaporation? All right, now on your review sheet, number 44 is evaporation. Let me get myself a marker here. Evaporation is the process during which liquid water changes into a gas called water vapor. Hit pause and I'll explain it. Okay, what is evaporation? You have experienced evaporation before. When you've taken a glass of water to bed with you at night and you've left it on the nightstand and you never take it back to the kitchen and it's got a little bit of water in it, and each day you notice that the water starts getting less and less and less and less. Okay, that water is not just disappearing, that water is evaporating. And what's happening is the molecules of water that is inside that glass of water are slowly separating, and they're going out of the glass and into the air, into your bedroom with you. And it's still water. It's just the gas now. It's a gas. It's gas vapor. And it's floating around in your room. Whenever you have, whenever it's rained and you see the roads are wet and the sun comes out and it starts drying the roads and the roads are steaming and you can see that the roads are now starting to dry, you are witnessing evaporation taking place. The water that is on that roadway is turning into that steam. Now that steam is still water because you can still see it. All right. But when the steam rises and the molecules of water separate far enough apart that you can't see them anymore, now it has become a gas. It is still water. It's just in gas form now. So those are examples of water vapor or evaporation that you may have noticed before. All right, another word that we need to get written down here is transpiration. And you can't hardly see this one. Let's pick another color here. All right, transpiration is the release of water vapor from leaves and stems of plants. Hit pause and I will explain. All right, transpiration is basically how water is given up by a plant. The plant will give up water through the stomata, the openings on the undersides of leaves, and through the stem. And as that water comes out, it pulls up water from the bottom of the plant, and that creates a suction up through the plant. And that's how the plant pulls up minerals through the soil and from the roots. So transpiration is just basically a way that water is given up by plants. All right. Another word that we need to go over today is condensation. All right. Condensation is the process during which water vapor, the gas, turns back into a liquid. Condensation is water going now from a gas and turning back into a liquid. Hit pause and we'll talk about it. All right, so when you get a cold Coca-Cola, when you get a glass of sweet tea, and you bring it out into the humid summer afternoons, and what I'm doing is I'm reaching back here. I have a can of Fresca here. Now, right now it's nice and dry on the outside on it, but if I leave it out here, this can is cold. And the air that is floating around this room right now has water vapor in it. And water vapor is drawn towards cold things. So as I leave this out, the water vapor in here is being drawn towards this can right here. And if I leave it over time, water will start dripping off of it. That's why during the summertime, when you're mowing the grass or when you're doing whatever, and you go inside and you get a bottle of water that's nice and cold, well, that's why it starts getting that water dripping off of it on the outside. It's not leaking through the bottle. That is water that is collecting from the humid afternoons onto the sides of that bottle. And right now, if I know you can't see this because these cameras right here cost all of probably about $15. So the camera's not very good in it. But when I run my hand over it, I can feel the wet from the condensation that is building on the outside of it. So cold things draw water to them. When you get out of the shower or out of the bathtub, you may notice that the mirror is fogged over. Well, that's because you have just taken a warm shower, which puts out a lot of water vapor. The mirror is cold. So the water vapor goes to the mirror, collects on the mirror, and it fogs over the mirror. Okay? And then if you don't touch the mirror, as the mirror warms up, the water vapor is released off of it. And so that's another way that you experience condensation. And last but not least today, let's talk about another part of the water cycle. Let's talk about precipitation. All right, so precipitation is water that falls from clouds to Earth's surface. All right, hit pause. We'll talk about it. All right, what is precipitation? Okay, let me get this picture back here. So, evaporation causes by the sun, warms up the ocean, water turns from a liquid to a gas. It starts floating up into the air. It cools, and as it cools, it gathers together again through condensation. And as it starts to build these clouds, you get big clouds. And as these water droplets get bigger and bigger and bigger, gravity starts pulling them down out of the cloud, and you get precipitation. And here you can see precipitation. Here you can see water that is falling down out of the clouds. All right. Now, rain is not the only type of precipitation. Can you think of any others? Well, let me name a few for you. You've got hail, which falls during storms. You've got sleet during the wintertime. You get snow, which is during the wintertime. You also get something that is called graupel during the wintertime. Graupel is not very many people know about graupel, especially down here in the South, because it's very rare for us to get it down here in the South. Graupel is a combination of the sleet, and it's kind of like a wet snowball, and it's extremely small. You can, here, let me real quickly, because folks were interested in that earlier today. Here is what graupel looks like. And I misspelled it, but it's good enough right here. Grapple kind of looks like looks like a little snowball. Um, it's just a combination of various precipitations that combine together. It's not the same as hail. I love this picture right here. Here is hail that falls during a storm. So it's definitely not that. And the little pellets of ice is sleet. All right. And here's what sleet looks like when it hits the ground. Somebody in class today said, hey, grapple is kind of like when you get that good ice from Sonic or that good ice from Chick-fil-A. It kind of looks like, it does kind of look like that. That's kind of what it looks like. So, I've named several for you here. There's rain, there's sleet, snow, grapple, and hail. Those are the 5 types of precipitation that we get. All right, so going back to our water cycle, we've kind of covered our water cycle today. Evaporation is caused by the sun. It heats up the molecules of water. They rise up into the air in a process that is called evaporation. Evaporation is water being turned into a gas. So the gas floats up into the sky. It condensates as it cools. It gathers together like what's on a can. All right. It gathers together as it cools and it forms clouds. The clouds gather together, get bigger. And as they get bigger, it creates precipitation. That precipitation falls to earth as the things that we just said before: rain, snow, sleet, hail, grapple. Then you get runoff, snow runoff. You get regular rain runoff. It fills up streams and rivers and makes lakes. And then eventually it makes its way through ground rivers back to the oceans, or the rivers run to the oceans, and the whole process starts all over again. And that's class for today. You need to make sure that you turn in that ecosystem, and you need to make sure that you turn in the Chapter 20 Lesson 1 review before Sunday at 3:30. I hope you have a good day and a good weekend.